Hello, you absolute legends. Of all the things people love to fake in the world of video game achievements, playing blindfolded has got to be the #1 choice. Sure, people cheat at everything, but the ratio of fake to real in the blindfolded category is probably higher than anything else. And I think the main reason is that you don't have to be a good player to fake a good blindfolded run. I absolutely suck at Geometry Dash, but if I'm competing against the best player in the world who's wearing a blindfold, I would crush them. Geometry Dash is especially hard with a blindfold because some of the forms you need to play as, like the ship, require a deceptive amount of precision. And when you can't see, this becomes almost impossible. And this is why if you look at the community blindfolded spreadsheet, hardly any of the levels have been completed and only by a tiny amount of people. Even if a level seems so easy when you can see, put a blindfold on and it becomes extremely difficult. And this is why when the Player World game started posting blindfolded completions over a decade ago, he blew up. Every single one of his blindfolded runs got over 1 million views, with many of them getting many millions of views. His run of level 7 has 15 million views. That is unbelievable. And to be frank, the fact that World Game receives so many views makes it all the more surprising that despite what I would consider obvious red flags, he only just got exposed. And we will go through these red flags in this video. Though credit where credit is due. Saying that World Game faked his blindfolded runs is selling him short. He didn't just do the old faithful see-through blindfold or the hidden third monitor, he went above and beyond. This is one of the most high-effort fakes I've ever seen, and the fact that he cheated for over a decade and received so many views makes him by far the biggest cheater in blindfold history. Today we will take a look at World Game, one of the most dishonest and sneaky cheaters I've ever seen. I really hope you enjoy. Legends, there are some things in life we know would be extremely beneficial for us to do, but for whatever reason we just don't do it. Whether that's working out or eating healthier or going outside. For me, it was learning to program. I always wanted to learn, but I could never just knuckle down and do it. I even studied IT at university when I left school, but I dropped out because I found the process of learning code too boring. So if you're like me and you want to learn to code but you found it too difficult, you should definitely try out today's sponsor, boot.dev. Boot.dev is the best because it makes learning to program as interesting and engaging as it can possibly be. Boot.dev turns programming into a game where you earn XP, gain levels, and complete quests. There are tons of courses covering a bunch of different languages, and it doesn't matter if you're a complete beginner. The courses are designed so well, you can jump in at any level. My favorite feature is Boot, your own personal tutor. Boot is amazing at guiding you to the right answer, instead of straight up telling you, which is by far the best way to learn. So if you want a career in programming or just want to learn for fun, click my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen and use code CARLJOBS for 25% off your entire first year on an annual plan. There is even a 30-day no questions asked money back guarantee, so there really is no reason not to at least give it a go. Now first, a funny piece of context. A couple of weeks ago, I released a video showcasing a competition I held where I asked people to fix a terribly faked speedrun. And one of the video editing skills that people needed to master in order to make the fake run look believable was masking. The original faked run didn't mask this 8, so it appeared in front of the player's hand, giving the fake away. So masking was required to make it seem like it appeared behind the hand. Well, as it turns out, the Geometry Dash player Treble PKGD, along with Foxdemix and Virtual Fox, who were looking at World Game's runs, realized that the masking technique showcased in my video explained a lot of anomalies he had seen. So after watching my video, the exact cheating method finally clicked and it all made sense. So this is another example of how making people aware of cheating methods actually helps cheaters get caught. And by the way, make sure to go and support Treble's original video after watching this. We are going to systematically go through World Game's cheating history, but we have to point out the elephant in the room here, which should have made people highly suspicious from day one. We need to talk about theatrics. If you watch a speedrunner play or a serious blindfold competitor play, you'll always see them grind levels or games the same way. Attempt after attempt after attempt as quickly as possible. Because new world records or new completions take many attempts, you want to do as many attempts as possible to speed up the process. Plus, playing is practice, so the more time you spend playing and practicing, the faster you'll improve. At top level play, you want the least amount of downtime as possible. Let's watch the beginning of World Game's completion of level 14, Club Step. Now, after the completion, he shows his total attempts count, which was apparently 2.1 million, which for context is more attempts on one level than any other documented case. If every attempt was just 1 second, that would be over 500 hours. So, do you see the problem here? I mean, when you watch the video and turn your brain off, the issue doesn't immediately jump out, but just think about the practical implication of what's going on. He had the blindfold laid out nice and neatly in front of him. He even literally sits down into his chair as preparation for the attempt, which means that after his previous attempt, he took his headphones off, he took the blindfold off, laid it down neatly in front of him, went back to the main menu, then stood up just to sit back down, put the blindfold back on, put his headphones back on, and then do another attempt. This is stupid. No one should have ever taken this seriously, and this was the case since day one. In his very first uploaded video of level 1, it starts with him putting his blindfold on. So every attempt would involve him taking the blindfold off, going back to the main menu just to put the blindfold back on and re-enter the level. Every single video is like this, and the worst offender by far is level 10. Before his level 10 completion, he goes on a 2-minute rant about how he is totally legit and totally not cheating. And in that rant, he talks about how hard it was to complete level 10, as if he had already done it.
Hi everybody, I'm Wargame and I know it's a long time that I don't upload a new video on my channel, but it took so many time to complete X step level, it was so hard to complete with closed eyes.
So apparently he completed it off camera for some reason, and then made a 2-minute speech before doing it again, first try. But if he had already done it, why does he act like he has just achieved it for the first time or done something he considers difficult when he finishes? Speaking of which, his reactions aren't realistic at all. It's an obvious act. I have never ever seen a legitimate competitor react like this when they have done something amazing. It looks incredibly robotic and forced. It's just bizarre. So even without getting into the specific analysis, things are already so outrageous that everyone should have been skeptical immediately. This is not how top-level competitors do attempts. So with that out of the way, let's get into his runs. He uploaded his level 1 completion in April 2014, and in this case one might suspect the most obvious cheating method first, a hidden monitor. His blindfold has huge gaps on each side of his nose, so it would be extremely easy just to plug in a third monitor, put it on the floor and play as normal. But that's not what World Game did. If you look very closely at the top left corner of his monitor, you'll notice something strange. There are weird artifacts appearing exactly where the text left the screen, and these artifacts keep reappearing at consistent intervals. Now, if I were to just start level 1 without pressing anything, this is exactly what would happen. You continuously die, and the attempt counter repeatedly moves across the left side of the screen. And if I put this side by side with World Game's monitor, you can see that the timing of the text is exactly the same. So behind whatever is showing on his monitor is just level 1 running without any inputs, which means that he has put something over the top in post-production, which would be relatively easy to do with some simple masking. The only issue one would need to overcome now is making sure that your mouse presses line up with what's happening on screen. Even if you can just easily cover up your screen with a legit run, if you actually can't see what you're doing, your hand presses aren't going to match the gameplay. In order to fix this, World Game also masked his hand. If you look closely, you can see that immediately after starting the stage, his hand morphs into a different recording. And you can see the exact edge of the mask, as it creates a very obvious division between the rest of his arm and the inserted footage. This is why World Game turns his body away and sits in this unnatural position. It's so that he can have a clear shot of his hand for the entire run. This means that World Game was faking things since day one, and he continued to fake things for more than a decade, using more or less the same technique, though some efforts were more believable than others, and sometimes he made pretty huge mistakes. The masking on level 3 is especially bad. It's kind of surprising he wasn't caught right here. Level 5 is where the theatrics start to become pretty ridiculous. Before his attempt, he changes his name to "This is not a video," obviously trying to make people believe this was not pre-recorded. But again, if you think about the practical implications of what's going on, this makes no sense. In order for this to happen, he would need to do an attempt, then go and change his name back to Andrew, then go back to the starting screen, just so that he could record himself changing his name again. So is this supposed to convey that he is so amazing and this challenge is so easy for him that he can do it at will? Because while on the surface it just seems like he's providing extra proof, what it implies is that this challenge is so trivial that he can waste time changing his name back and forth between each attempt. But if that were the case, why then act like you're so relieved at the end? I'm getting super conflicting messages here. The masking on this one is a lot better, but when he reaches the section with a black background, the masking once again becomes obvious. And look at his hand after he finishes the run. The last 5 seconds is literally just a freeze frame in a really unnatural position. I don't know what happened to his hand after his run, but couldn't he just do another take? Just watching this is giving me the creeps. On level 6, look at the way his thumb changes when he starts the run. Again, you can see the exact frame when he starts applying the masked hand. Level 7, we have more crappy masking where you can see the attempt text scroll by. On level 8, I think he realized his masking of the screen was terrible, so he started cropping the entire monitor, not just the screen. The only problem is that it's super obvious because the edges of the monitor increase in brightness dramatically when he turns on the mask. At least World Game understood the best place to splice a run is during a black screen, unlike some people. It's weird. Sometimes he unmasks his hand after a run, but sometimes he keeps the mask there. This time he keeps the mask on until the fade out, but his totally believable and not contrived celebration makes it look obvious. Bro, all you have to do is just try to keep still. Level 9, he starts to get too confident. He wants to show the world how good his masking is, so he starts waving his other hand around in front of his mouse. Unfortunately, it looks like he bit off more than he can chew with this one, because he makes an utter mess of it. How did this get past quality assurance? Level 10 is where he realized he could use his left hand to cover the mouse while he removes the mask. Before finishing, he reaches down at the keyboard for absolutely no reason, just so that he can cover the mouse for a frame while he brings it back up. You can see his whole hand position suddenly change, but the most obvious tell is the color of the mouse. It instantly goes from red to white. Level 11, he adds a lot of extra spice. He has a hand cam pointed at his mouse, and we can even see the screen of the camera. This one is actually a work of art. I mean, I can't see anything obviously wrong with this. I think the madman even masked the screen on the hand cam camera. Bravo! The only thing that looks a bit scuffed is the end when he celebrates. How is it possible his mouse hand is moving like that, but his fingers and mouse are completely still? Level 12, we can see his hand morph when he starts the level. At this point, he also got some new monitors, so his masking improved there, though as we'll see, he was still prone to making the occasional mistake. Oh my lord, we have a new angle. Seriously, that morph when he starts the level is creepy. It's like an alien morphing. Yes, that's right. Keep that mouse hand as still as possible while you celebrate. That's totally normal behavior. Everyone knows this is one of the unspoken rules of blindfold competition. Left hand for pumping, right hand for keeping perfectly still the entire time until the camera fades out. Next, he did level 17. We are now in 2019, and he has been doing this for 5 years. The hand morph is really obvious. I think there's also some other funny business going on because his finger is glitching out the entire time. On level 21, now he is just getting cocky, waving his finger around in front of the mask like that. He's really got to be careful here or he'll slip up. And look, he flew too close to the sun and he blew it. Next is level 16. Yeah, we get it, man, you're totally cool. For some reason he switched to windowed mode in the game, but now the masking is back to being terrible. Again, we can see the attempt text scroll past the edge of the screen. He's now been doing this for 7 years at this point, and he is still making the same mistake he made on his very first video. I have a feeling he wanted to show off how good his masking was by wagging his finger in front of his hand all the time. But the problem is that 1, no one knows he is masking so no one cares, and 2, it just makes it ultimately look like shit when people realize it's masking and take a closer look. He adds another ultra smooth hand transition at the end as well. You can see his hand position completely change in a single frame. Skipping ahead to level 14 club step, this is the one he claims he had 2 million attempts on. This is definitely not cringe. But oh my lord, we officially for the first time have movement of the right hand after a completion. This is amazing. But that mouse must be nailed to the table. The mouse doesn't move a single pixel, neither when he initially grabs it or when he throws his hands up in the air to celebrate. If I transition from before the run to after, you can see the position is identical. Seriously, try that yourself. Hold your mouse like you're playing a game intensely and quickly lift up your hand. That mouse should move at least a little bit, unless it's completely fixed to the table. I really do think at some point he realized it was much easier to anchor the mouse down so his hand would be in the exact same place the entire time, which of course would make masking and unmasking a bit easier. Finally, we have his last uploaded video in May 2025, 11 years after it all began. There's really not much to say about it except for the fact his index finger morphs and becomes fatter after he starts. I wonder how much he practiced his finger positioning to make sure it was as consistent as possible. Unfortunately this time, he regressed back to just keeping his hand still after finishing, but at least we got the obligatory fist pump. He also uploaded a video which was supposed to be showing his failed attempts at level 14 club step. But I have some bones to pick with this video. So again, he's doing his whole shtick from the main menu, as is the case with all of his other runs, which so far so good, and he dies instantly on attempt 1. Fair enough, but why is he getting up? Is this supposed to indicate that he gets up and turns off the recording after every fail? Please explain why he's getting up and moving towards the camera. Okay, now this fail doesn't make sense. After he dies here, it says attempt 28, which means his previous attempt was 27. But if he always resets after failing attempt 1 and goes back to the main menu, this shouldn't be possible. And he even had his index finger going on his other hand. So if the finger was wagging, it means this is supposed to be a legit attempt. Something isn't adding up here. Again, after his next fail, it restarts at attempt 60, which is totally inconsistent with what he normally does. So why is he acting upset? None of this checks out. Just a reminder, literally every single completion he has on his channel is attempt number 1, which means he has to take his blindfold off and quit out to the main menu after every single attempt in order for this to be the case. But in this video, he is having a tantrum after failing at attempt 114. I'm starting to think this video might not be made up of legitimate fails. Could it possibly be that World Game made a video pretending to play and, dare I say it, acting as if he was upset? Surely not. Well, of all of the blindfolded cheaters we've ever seen, World Game is certainly one of them. To fake this many completions over this long a period, while constantly saying how you're definitely not cheating, is pretty gross. Even after his very first upload of level 1, he uploaded a video with the thumbnail saying, "Proof not fake." The description reads, "Many of you told me that video I made was fake. Clicking wasn't at time." Well, here I prove the opposite. And he did. He proved everyone wrong, and everyone lived happily ever after. Again, make sure to go and support the original Expose video uploaded by Treble PKGD. The link will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.